All right, time to dive deep into the world of Senil Neves. Commissioning a piece from an artist like this, it's really something special. You get to own something truly unique, a piece of art that's one of a kind.
It's such a unique experience, isn't it? There's something about Neves' work that just draws you in. And even their name, Senil Neves. Did you ever notice? It's
Okay.
actually,
Yeah.
yeah, 7 lines, but spelled backwards. It's like a little hint at their style.
Oh.
They love to play with expectations, turn things on their head. It's all about duality and finding balance in those unexpected places.
Wow, I never even noticed that. Talk about looking beyond the surface. Haha. That actually ties in really well with what they say in their bio. They mention nothing exists in its own right, and that there are two sides to everything.
Exactly. Balance is definitely a key theme for Neves. And it's not just about visual symmetry, it's more about, I don't know, a deeper exploration of contrasts like light and shadow or presence and absence, combining the geometric with something more organic.
It makes you wonder, coming from Indiana, being self-taught,
Yeah.
you can kind of see that grounded sensibility in their work. But at the same time, there's this drive to experiment, explore different styles. I don't know if that makes sense.
Totally. Their journey, starting with minimalism and then moving towards capturing human connection, it shows they're not afraid of evolving as an artist, which for someone looking to commission a piece, that's exciting. You know you're going to get something that's constantly pushing boundaries.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, their visual style is really something else. The sources you gave me mentioned things like, let's see, ample white space, layers of texture, bold line pigments,
Oh,
and those striking geometric compositions.
see, and this is where it gets interesting. It's not just about the elements themselves, but how they all come together in Nebbs's work. Take that ample white space. It's not empty space. It's a carefully crafted void, working with the negative space to create
So,
balance.
like, it's as much about what's not there as what is there.
Exactly. Like with those bold lines and geometric shapes, Neves talks about the communication between circles and lines, almost like they have their own language, creating meaning through those interactions.
It's like every choice, the texture, the way it's composed, it all has a purpose in the grand scheme of the art.
Absolutely. And then you bring in their fascination with architecture, specifically its relationship to nature. This idea of how organic shapes, found in nature, can play off of those more rigid lines you see in buildings. I don't know about you, but it makes me think about the kind of atmosphere Neves is trying to create. Is it harmony, tension, or something completely different? It's exciting to think about.
It makes me think about their work on Evoli Candles. Have you ever heard of
I
those?
have, yeah. Very cool project.
The way they describe the candles, it's all about luxury, creating an ambiance, even triggering senses through scent. I'm wondering if there's a connection there between the art and the candles.
It's interesting you mentioned the candles. Yeah, because while Neves doesn't like explicitly say my art is inspired by my candles or anything, there are some interesting parallels. Like you said, they use words like luxury, creating an ambiance, even triggering the senses. It makes you think about the kind of artists they are. They're not just thinking about the visual, right?
Yeah, it's like they want you to experience the art on multiple levels, not just seeing it, but like feeling it too.
Yeah.
And they even describe the candles as being part of treasured self-care rituals, which I think is really interesting. It's like they understand that art, or even just a beautifully scented candle, it can have this really powerful effect on us.
Absolutely. They tap into something deeper. Like maybe those candles give us a little window into the kind of mood Neves is going for in their artwork. It's like this whole other layer to explore.
I love that.
Okay,
Okay,
here.
so let's say I'm completely captivated by Nev's art, the
Yeah.
style, the philosophy, everything. I've decided I need to have a piece. So how do I actually go about commissioning something?
Well, the good news is Nebs is really big on collaboration. They actually see it as a partnership. So you wouldn't just be handing over a concept and saying, make this. You'd work together, bounce ideas off each other.
So it was a real back and forth, more than just, I like this style, just make it bigger.
Exactly. It all starts with a conversation. You tell Nevs about your vision for the piece, talk about the size, what kind of colors you're thinking, even the overall feeling you're hoping to capture. Communication is key.
It sounds like they really want to understand the why behind the commission. Would it be helpful to show them examples of their past work, like as a starting point?
Absolutely. In fact, they encourage it because that helps figure out how complex the piece would be. Is it more on the minimal side? Or is it super intricate, really complex? And of course, all of that plays into the pricing. Which is
Right. Because art is an investment, and it's good to be upfront about that side of things.
definitely. NAMS is really transparent about that pricing structure. Basically, it all comes down to three things. how complex the piece is, how big it is, and what materials are being used. And naturally, an original piece, something that's one of a kind, is going to be priced higher than, say, a print.
Yeah, that makes sense. With an original, you're not just getting the art itself. You're getting a piece of the artist's journey, you know,
Huh.
their unique perspective.
Perfectly said. You're valuing their time, their skill, the creative energy they're pouring into this piece just for you.
Okay, so let's say we've talked about the vision, hammered out the details, figured out the pricing. What happens next? What's the actual payment and delivery process like with Senil Neves?
So to get started, Neves asks for a 50% deposit up front. That covers the cost of materials and also ensures they can block out the time to really focus on your piece. Then, once they've finished creating the artwork, they'll send you photos of the finished piece so you can see how it turned out.
Okay, that's good. You get to make sure it's exactly what you had in mind before it actually gets shipped to you.
Yeah, exactly. And then once you give it the final, okay, you pay the remaining 50%, and then that's it. They ship it out.
And do they, like, provide tracking information and everything?
Yeah, they do. They send you all the tracking details so you can follow it every step of the way.
That's great. It sounds like Neves really values transparency, like making sure everything is clear and everyone's on the same page throughout the entire process.
Definitely. They seem to prioritize communication, which is so important when you're commissioning a piece of art.
You know, there's one more thing in the source material I wanted to ask about.
Yeah.
It mentions that Neves retains the rights to even the commissioned pieces. Do you know what that means for the buyer? Like, what can they actually DO with the artwork?
That's a really good question and something that's important to clarify up front whenever you're commissioning art. Basically, it means that you own the physical artwork itself, so you can display it in your home, but Senil Neves still holds the copyright to that image. So they're allowed to create prints or use that image in other ways, even though you have the original.
So it's kind of like if you bought a rare print of a photograph, right? Like, you own that print, but the photographer still has the rights to the image itself.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. It helps make that distinction between owning the actual object, the artwork itself, and owning the copyright, which is a whole other thing.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about Senil Neves, their art, their philosophy, even their candles. So as we wrap things up here, what would you say is the key takeaway for our listeners out there who are considering commissioning a piece?
I think the most important thing is to remember what we talked about earlier. Think beyond just the visual aspect of the artwork. Really think about the energy you want it to bring into your space, the emotions you want it to evoke, the textures, the colors, the overall mood. And the great thing about commissioning a piece from Senil Neves is that they're so collaborative, they want you to be a part of that process. So you really have the opportunity to infuse all those elements into your piece, making it something that truly reflects your vision.
It's like you're not just commissioning a piece of art, you're commissioning a feeling, an experience. And with Neves' incredible eye for detail, their unique approach to art making, I can only imagine the amazing pieces people will create with them. This is so exciting.